All right, hello everybody, welcome. We're going to be solving quadratics on inspection today, which really means we're going to be solving some equations that have squared in them, like x squared, y squared, z squared, stuff like that. So here we go. First thing we need to do is know what a squared is, guidelines for solving an equation with an x squared right there at the top. We're going to mostly use inverse operations to solve these, just like equations we've already solved in the past. So the first thing we're going to do is add or subtract to move the constant. Meaning, if they give us a plus 10, we're going to subtract 10. And if they give us a, I don't know, add 8, we're going to subtract 8. If they give us minus 8, we'll add 8. All the normal stuff we always do. Next, we're going to multiply or divide to move the coefficient. Multiply or divide to move the coefficient. That's the number in front of the variable. We already know about those. Coefficient is the number in front of the variable. The last thing we need to do, though, is figure out what to do with the squared. So it turns out that squaring and square roots are inverse operations of each other. They cancel each other out. So squared and square root are inverse operations. They cancel each other out. So that means to solve, then we need to take the square root of both sides to solve for the variable. The last thing we need to do is simplify the radical, just like we did in last class. All right. So let's see what that looks like when we're actually solving an equation. So x squared equals 64. So what do we do with the squared? We don't have to add or subtract. We don't have to multiply or divide. We just need to get rid of the squared. So the square root will cancel out the squared. X squared, square root cancel each other out. So we just have x left over. The square root of 64 is a number we know. It's 8. But we need to make it plus or minus 8. That's what that symbol means. Plus 8 or minus 8. So 8 times 8 makes 64. Negative 8 times negative 8 also makes 64. So we need to have both answers. Same thing here. Squared and square root cancel each other out. So this side is x. Square root of 100 is 10. We know that one. 10, but we need it to be plus or minus 10. Positive 10 or negative 10. All right, same thing here. Square root of both sides. Squared and square root cancel each other out. So m equals, the square root of 50 is not like the two we just did. We don't know the square root of 50, so we have to take it apart like we did last class. So 50 is 25 times 2. So the square root of 50 is equal to the square root of 25 times the square root of 2. Square root of 25 is 5. Plus or minus 5. The square root of 2 we don't know, and we can't take it apart. So we just leave it as square root of 2. Same thing here. The variable's on the other side. You can rewrite it on the other. You can rewrite the y squared on the left if you want. You'll get the same answer. But let's see. Square root and squared cancel each other out. Square root of 48, again, is not a number we know the square root of. So we need to take it apart. I think our best choice is 16 times 3. Square root of 16 is 4, so it's plus or minus 4. And the square root of 3 we don't know, but also we can't take it apart. So we just kind of leave it alone. The 3 is stuck inside of the radical. All right, so let's see what happens. We're just going to add a little bit every time we change slides. So we're just going to add a little bit to it. Let's see. 3z squared equals 48. So there's a number, this is a coefficient, right, in front of the variable. So we need to do step 2 that we have listed on our page above. So divide by 3, so we get z squared equals 16. Now we can do step 3. Take the square root of both sides. Z equals 16, and the square root of 16 is 4, so we need plus or minus 4. Same thing here. You need to move the 5 first. There we go. We need to move the 5 first. So m squared equals 125 divided by 5 is 25. Square root of both sides. M is equal to, square root of 25 is 5. So we're going to make it plus or minus 5. All right, let's add another step. 2 steps now. Let's see, before we can take the square root. So we're going to do step 1 that we have listed above. We're going to move the constant first. So subtract 20, subtract 20. Those cancel. 2w squared equals 38 minus 20 is 18. Now we're going to do step 2. Divide the coefficient. So w squared equals 18 divided by 2 is 9. Square root of both sides. W equals plus or minus. Square root of 9 is 3. All right, let's keep going. Subtract 37. Subtract 37. Let's see, they're both negative, so we need to add them together. So 14. Let's see, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 294. Equals negative 6r squared. Divide by negative 6, divide by negative 6. So r squared equals, well, negative divided by negative makes positive. Let's see, 4 and 5 left over makes 54, so 49. Square root of both sides, r equals, the square root of 49 is 7. We know the square root of 49, so plus or minus 7. All right, let's keep going. A couple more. Let's see. We need to move a negative 9. We need to move a minus 9, so we need to add 9 to both sides. 2x squared equals 16. Divide by 2. X equals 16 divided by 2 is 8. So x squared equals 8. Square root of both sides. X equals, well, we don't know quite what the answer is yet because we don't know the square root of 8. So we have to take it apart. So square root of 8 turns into 4 times 2. Square root of 4 is 2. So plus or minus 2. And then this 2 is stuck. So plus or minus 2 square root of 2. All right, last one. We need to subtract 12. That's a positive 12, so we need to subtract. So we have 4t squared equals 80. Divide by 4, divide by 4. T squared equals 80 divided by 4 is 20. And then the opposite of a squared is a square root. T equals, we don't know the square root of 20, so we have to figure out what the answer is. Square root of 20. If we take 20 apart, we can use 10 or 2, but we could also use 4 times 5, which helps us because we know the square root of 2, or square root of 4 is 2. So 2, and then the 5 is stuck. All right, I think that's it. That gets us started on solving equations. Make sure you're ready to go when you come into class.